Have we 100 subscribers, everybody? Oh man, it's all downhill from here. What should we talk about today? Who cares? I'll just tell you guys in the title. How much do you like Monster Hunter? I'm a fan, but not a 200 hours plus fan. But you know, a good 60 hours never hurt nobody, right? What the fuck is a G rank anyway? On top of being ever more popular with each release, Monster Hunter has owned the monopoly on monster hunting games since it practically invented the genre years ago. Until now! 2 new monster hunting games broke out onto the scene in the last couple of years, Freedom Wars and Toukiden, The Age of Demons. There's probably a bunch of others, but I didn't hear about those, so I'm not going to mention them. We'll be talking about Toukiden Kiwami specifically, which is an expanded version of the original Toukiden. At any rate, I recommend you check both of these out, as they are thankfully drastically different from the game they're ripping off, the game they're inspired by. Let's make one thing absolutely clear, Toukiden is not a Monster Hunter replacement. The same way you can't replace Resident Evil with Silent Hill or a Metroid for a Castlevania, Toukiden and Monster Hunter are 2 games in the same genre with similar mechanics, but use them in different ways to accomplish different goals. I'm not saying Toukiden is as good as Monster Hunter either. Don't twist my words, you fucking asshole. Alright class, take your seats. Who here can tell me what are the most important things a monster hunting game needs? Monsters? Monsters? Really, Jerry Jr.? Monsters? Well, cover me in baby powder and fuck me in the ass. I would have never guessed. But you're absolutely right. A monster hunt is only as good as the monster you're hunting. So how are the monsters in Toukiden? The fighting system in Toukiden is fantastic. There's a few trademark weapon choices, longsword, lance, bow, but there's a majority of fresh options like the chain and sickle, the musket, and my personal favorite, the gauntlets. Each one of these weapons brings a distinct fighting style with it that's further made unique with special attacks and skill-based bonuses in combat. Anybody can use the gauntlets and just mash their 4-button combo, but by timing your button presses at the end of each swing, you can extend your combo potentially infinitely. I'm gonna use the gauntlets as the example for most of this since it'll be easier to follow what I'm saying if, It will be easier to understand what I'm trying to convey if I use cohesive examples. And that could be the extent of your gauntlet using abilities, but smart players will know that the alternate attack on gauntlets applies a defense debuff to whichever part of the monster the player hits. And even smarter players will know that using the gauntlet's flurry ability is perfect for downed monsters that are stuck in place. Beyond that, some weapons have the ability to guard against attacks, and all weapons have special super abilities that trigger more often the better a player makes use of their weapon. I wouldn't call it deep, but the weapon styles in Toukiden have a good enough level of depth that it's easy to distinguish the level of skill every player has. Skill is important for these kinds of games, from weapon expertise right over to the items you bring with you into missions, but here's a twist. There are no consumable items in Toukiden. What? No items? But then how the hell are we supposed to heal or buff ourselves or trap the monster? This is all explained by the setting of the game. Toukiden takes place in feudal Japan. If feudal Japan was besieged by demons every now and then, and eventually it got besieged extra hard and was thrown into a terrible distortion of time and space. I digress. The monsters are the infamous Oni of Japanese folklore, and pray tell, what good is capturing a demonic spirit for? Huh! Yeah! What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. It's kill or be killed, and people would do more of the second one if it weren't for the Slayers, special individuals able to call upon the souls of Japan's mightiest warriors to endow them with special strength. These powerful souls, or Mitama as they're called in the game, provide a set of 4 varied powers that do a bunch of different things, and one of them is always a heal spell. I'm not particularly fond of having to take a mission every now and then to stock up on materials so I can make a bunch of potions that'll let me maximize my input to fight one big monster and then go repeat the process 50 times over. Who wants that? Who's got time for that? Not me. The Mitama provide a set quantity of their different buffs and abilities, which can be replenished out on the field at various prayer stones, and it removes a lot of the prep work that goes into monster hunting. The game as a whole tries to minimize the time between missions as much as possible. Pre-mission buffs, 2 buttons. Gathering buddies, 2 buttons to send out. NPC boosts you can get for raising relationship levels with main story characters, 2 buttons, and a steamy bath scene. Toukiden wants you to do the thing as soon as possible, and instead of locking the upgrades for these facilities behind side quests and escort missions, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, these utilities get stronger and provide a wider variety of returns the more you use them. To me, this makes more sense than any arbitrary mission that only becomes available after hitting another arbitrary point in the game. Since almost all of these things require the game's currency to use, another streamlined feature I approve of, it makes perfect sense that the more money I spend at these places, the more effective they'll be. Well, it's not money, it's technically a spiritual energy, but you get my point. And to bring this thought full circle, the Mitama, likewise, also get stronger the more you use them. You can equip Mitama into slots on your weapon, and the more Oni you kill with it, the more XP it gains, eventually letting you level them up. Mitama learn new traits that apply passive bonuses to your Slayer, increasing your maximum health and stamina, to increasing the window for precision strikes, to increasing the number of times an active ability can be activated. There is a wide pool of benefits that the Mitama draw from, and just like active abilities, the passive traits that they can learn are dependent on the Mitama type. But that's not all! Each Mitama also provides what I call a role ability depending on their type as well. Each Mitama type ranges from attack to Plin and Hilg, and Dickid is back. It's great. It's a bunch of different kinds and they're all special. Anyway, each of these types is essentially a different intended battle style. Some of them make special attack gauges fill up faster, some refresh other Mitama's spell cooldowns, and some raise attack power whenever an Oni's limb is severed from its body. This entire Mitama system further distinguishes players, not in terms of skill, but in playstyle. No 2 Mitamas are the same, so everyone's going to have a different set of powers best suited to them. And this large and diverse system might seem like it takes a long time to figure out, but it doesn't. You pick a Mitama with the skills you like and you level it up. Done. All the setup I've just gone over amounts to click, 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 click. But did I mention that all the Mitama are based off real historical figures of feudal Japan, and that some weapons allow you to equip more than one, and that equipping 2 Mitama in the same clan renders a special bonus, and that equipping Mitama historically relevant to one another unlocks a uniquely named boost that only that combination can give. I'm a sucker for historical relevance. The Mitama system is this game's strongest feature, and it adds to what is in actuality an action-oriented experience. Combat in Monster Hunter isn't slow per se, but it is methodical. There's a pace, a rhythm, kind of like the start of an old hip-hop beat. But Toukiden's is a little bit faster. It's got an attitude and feels more of an instinctive endeavor. Less thinking, more reliance on reflexes, less on careful execution. And the biggest contributor of that pace is Toukiden's prioritization of the carving system. But sir, what about the monsters themselves? Well, I don't really want to talk about... In Monster monster hunting games, you're able to break pieces off the monster by doing enough damage to a specific location like a wing or a tail, and then have a chance at getting a special item drop you wouldn't normally have gotten. Sometimes breaking a piece off prevents the monster from executing one of their attacks. In Toukiden, carving is a necessity if you want to beat monsters, as destroying an Oni's body part reveals its ethereal form, thus allowing you to deal more damage. But you can't just leave the Oni's body part lying on the ground, you dirty motherfucker. You have to carve it, or the Oni will magic its physical body back together, forcing you to start the process all over again. Now, why would you want to rush killing these monsters? Well, in Toukiden, severing an Oni's body part doesn't stop it from using its attacks, even if it does throw them off balance during the attack. That, and it throws tons of rewards at you for doing so. Bonuses for speed and bonuses for carving all the parts off an Oni make the number of missions you have to take to get a particular monster set of armor and weapon significantly shorter. These armor sets can't be made without carving certain monster parts anyway, so it all ties together nicely to fit in with Toukiden's get in and get out kind of pace. The last thing anyone wants to do is fight the same monster 10 times more than they ever wanted to because it isn't dropping the one item they need to finish their set. Although that still does happen in this game, it's way less than in Monster Hunter. That problem is rare in Toukiden as there's no expectation for you to grind out monster parts for hours on one mission. And trust me, you want to build new weapons and armor to stand a chance against the scarier monsters. The stats they provide are significant. How significant? Very. It's extremely cool that all the items you can equip your character with are inspired by samurais, ninjas, kabuki theater, sex shops, and other fashion from the era Toukiden is decorating itself with. What I like most about weapons and armor in Toukiden is the way you constantly improve them. Typically, you can't make weapons and armor stronger in monster hunting games until you have the appropriate materials to upgrade them into more powerful forms. Makes sense to me, not gonna challenge that. But Toukiden uses a stat called compatibility to give you an additional way of strengthening your equipment. Similar to how matamas get stronger the more you use them, so too do your weapons and armor. Once you maximize your compatibility of an item, you can fortify it further to increase its stats by a marginal amount. Two reasons why this is cool. A, you can fortify something up to 9 times and those marginal increases add up fast. And B, calling this stat compatibility makes good thematic sense. Whatever the fuck that means. Let us paint a mental picture. Your slayer puts on a new helmet, fights a new monster to break it in, and comes home thinking, good helmet, but if I change this little piece right here or added an extra layer of metal there, it'd be a much better fit for me. The more you use it, the more you know about it, the better you can make it fit into your repertoire. That's a French word for wardrobe. There's no in-game reflection of this, but there's this fascinating new concept they only just introduced at the dawn of time called imagination that makes everything 1,000 times more interesting. You should try it, you heartless monster. And if you can't be bothered, well, there is a way to fortify stuff without raising the compatibility meter, and you don't need to fortify something to be able to upgrade it into a different and more powerful weapon. And of course, wearing a full set of armor gives you another boost you can stack onto the 8 or 9 you already have, because why not? But teacher, don't these hunting games usually have a whatever kind of story that's ass? You're absolutely right. This is an analogy that's going right over most of your heads. You know how in Dark Souls and Bloodborne you can leave little notes on the ground that read Shades of Ambush or Amazing Chest Ahead? Well, you can sum up Toukiden's story with a little message that reads Shades of Persona. Yeah, see, this is where your brain is right now. It's somewhere in this cluster over here. Space, the final frontier. You're the only Slayer with the power to hold more than one Mitama. All of your friends have some inner turmoil you eventually help resolve. There's a relationship system that provides bonuses the better your relationship with particular NPCs are, and maxing out that causes their Mitama to split into two pieces so that you can use their Mitama from then on. I mean, Jesus' ass. If that's not trying to be social links, I don't know what is. In all seriousness though, the story is good. It doesn't get any points for subverting my expectations, but it's told well, and maybe it's because I keep thinking of Persona when I'm going through it, but I'm actually interested in what's going on. Character motivations make sense, the writing is competent enough, and I've gotten misty-eyed once or twice so far. And it's a good thing this whole the demons are literally going to end our existence thing is told straight. I'll take a story about the hardships of a group of people done seriously over, hey Hunter, this village got attacked, and by golly, what do you know, the monster attacking them is as tasty as smoked bacon. Now hurry back so we can go treasure hunting any day. What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't suck. Capiche? Sir? I think you forgot about the monsters? I was getting to that, Jerry Jr. It's basic writing 101. Save your most important point for last. God! You're not doing or saying anything wrong, but it's your complete lack of confidence that makes me so angry. Yeah, the monsters could use some work. Take the next part of this episode with a grain of salt because A, I'm actually fucking wasted right now. B, the way I feel right now might be a direct result of having my last experience with monster hunting games be early G rank in Monster Hunter 4. I get the feeling I've forgotten what low-level solo play actually feels like. And C, I am fucking wasted right now. This was going to be a point of criticism, but I've done some thinking, and the number of monsters in Toukiden Kiwami doesn't bother me. The original Toukiden release had way less, and that's a problem, but there's no need to play that version because this nicer version exists. The number of monsters in Toukiden Kiwami, excluding recolors because those don't count, is almost equal to the number of monsters in the first Monster Hunter, excluding the 100 different ways you can paint a Velocidrome because fuck that. I can't, in good conscience, take points away from Toukiden for not having a monster roster equal to 11 years of design and development. That's just not kosher. The monster designs, however, are a little stale at first. Giant Spider, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Shrek, but then they start working their way up to more interesting designs like a phoenix bird that turns into a mantis at phase 2, and a head with arms that turns into a head with arms. I'm not exactly selling it, but whatever, they're cool looking, and at times, strangely arousing. Look, I don't know what it is about this one, but I'm turned on. The real damage is how dumb the monsters are early in the game. They just stand there for a long time in between attacks. A long time. They're not winding up for attacks either, they're just in their idle animations, chillin'. I can at least say that they get smart enough to be active for most of the fight and have the aggression to be a threat. Honestly, the enemy AI wouldn't be much of an issue if your party's AI wasn't so good. You don't drag little helpers with you into missions. You bring in the NPC slayers you build relationships with, and they don't need you to do anything. Hey, do you guys need help? No? Okay. I'm gonna go pick up gathering items for my side quest then. Alright. Here I go. Oh. Sometimes, I'll let them take out all the smaller Oni in an area during a baby mission while I make dance gestures for moral support. But again, the monsters get smarter while the party AI stays the same, so it balances itself out as the player becomes more and more competent in their own ability. I just wish it was sooner rather than later. I think I finally noticed the monsters getting stronger about 30 hours in. But that's 30 hours! 30! Fuck! If I may, to all future monster hunting games, put your legs on faster! Monster Hunter's pace allows this span of time to feel, normal. There's a lot going on in Monster Hunter, and it isn't organized in the best way for players to get the hang of in a short amount of time. That gradual buildup over tens of hours is their way of teaching you the various systems. That's not Toukiden. The same systems from Monster Hunter have been consolidated and better organized. Everything in this game is about constant progression and fast break fighting, but your understanding of how the game works isn't reflected in the pace the game wants to set for you. It's in a weird space where the changes were made to make the genre more accessible, but the most important part wasn't altered to fit the new accessibility. And like Jerry the Junior fuck teenage ass said, the most important part of a monster hunting game are the monsters. Wait, but this whole time I haven't been talking about the monsters, I've been talking about the difficulty curve. If the difficulty curve wasn't as slow as it is, the monsters would be just fine. Oh my god, I'm having a revelation in the middle of recording. Luckily, everything else in Toukiden helps make up for its one deficiency, and that deficiency itself isn't too bad. It's a bummer in a forest of pretty cool, so it sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's not nearly as damaging as it seems. Oh god, these analogies are getting so bad. It's a good game, but maybe don't get the PC version if you want to use multiplayer, cause it's screwed up on PC, I think. Just play Toukiden, it's pretty cool. Oh!